Hey YouTube, what's going on, and welcome back to Cairo and his things. Today we're taking a look at my favorite tactical flashlight, and no, it's not the Brinyte PT16 anymore. Instead, it got upgraded. Now we're looking at the Brinyte PT16A. So let's go ahead and review this light. The Brinyte PT16A, not to be confused with the standard Brinyte PT16, as we can see the differences in that A right there. And when you add that A on there, that means you are getting a flashlight with upgraded features that I think make this not only the best tactical flashlight on the market, but I think that it's even better than the Acebeam L19. Now, why am I calling out the Acebeam L19? It's not that I'm necessarily calling that light out. It's just that I don't think that anything else in the market comes close to being as good for a first responder for this cost as the Acebeam L19. I think the Acebeam L19 is the only light that can actually really touch this and compete with this. But I think that this comes out a little bit on top for first responders. So let's cover why. First, let's get into some of the specs on this light. As far as size, we're looking at 159 millimeters top to bottom, or 6.26 inches. And then on the diameter of that head there, we're looking at 1.53 of an inch. Diameter, or 38 millimeters. And then as far as weight, we are looking at 5.3 ounces without the battery. So consider that this is running a 21700 battery inside. So this is going to be a little bit of a heavier light. It's not something that's meant to be comfortable in your pants pocket. And so we're running a 5000 milliamp 21700 button top battery in there. Speaking of the battery, this does have USB-C recharging right behind this discreet little flap here. And additionally, we do have a battery indicator here on the side switch. So as you can see, I'm in green, so I'm at nearly full battery. Let's cover what's upgraded on this new PT16A model over the original PT16. Here on the PT16, back here on the USB flap, I am not a big fan of this USB-C flap. As much as I love this light and it's one of my favorite tactical flashlights, this flap I can't stand. It is so easily accidentally pulled up, and the least thing that you want is water getting in there or anything else. So that is just way too easy to flip up. It's way too big. It doesn't stay sealed very well. They needed to upgrade that flap. So that's exactly what they did on the PT16A. So that's, as you can see, very, very small, discreet. It's not, there's no chance of this getting ripped up. You actually have to stick your finger in there and pull that flap up. Usually it's easier with my first finger there. There we go. And so that stays locked in there great. You are good to go with that flap. On the head of the PT16, we already had a great bezel, and I think that that was plenty, but they made it even better because now on the PT16A, not only do we have that bezel, but we've got 3 tungsten steel beads there. So for law enforcement, this is great for you, right? Like, it's so nice to be able to have something that if you need to break a window, that you can, whether you're law enforcement, security, or whatever, military. That's a great feature to have. I really, really like that they put that on there. Everything that they upgraded, they're upgrading with law enforcement and first responders in mind. On the emitter on the PT16, the original one here, we've got an SFT40. Great emitter. I love it. But it may not be the absolute best choice for first responders. On this PT16A, we've got an SFT70. So what that means is you're going to get an extra 1,000 lumens out of this. It's going to be brighter. It's going to have a little bit of a wider beam on it. It's going to be more usable at the sacrifice of you're not going to get quite as far of range. So basically, this is a thinner beam with further range on it. That's great. That's what you want. You want high candela out of a tactical self-defense style flashlight. This one still has those features. It just gives up a little bit of the range, but adding in a lot more lumens and a better beam profile. And lastly, as far as the upgrades, so the PT16 came with this finger ring here, which is really nice. It helps lock your fingers in place really well, so you can keep your grip and you don't have to worry about this sliding out of your hand or anything like that. The PT16A comes with the same thing. I removed mine because it also came with this finger ring. So it's pretty simple. You can literally just lock your finger right in place, and then with the turbo direct to strobe, it's just really easy to stay locked in there. Or you could even switch it to your middle finger if you want to switch back and forth with both hands, whatever you want to do. But having that is really, really nice to lock your hand in. But pretty much everything else, from the head profile to the side switch, the tube design, the buttons in the back, everything's still the same. The user interface is still the same. They both still have a buck driver. All the great things that made the PT16 such a wonderful first responder flashlight is still there for the PT16A. It's just that things got better. Let's get into the most important thing. Let's go outside, take a look at some outdoor beam shots with this PT16A, and when we get back, we'll cover why I think this is even better than the Acebeam L19. All right, now that we saw what this light can do outside, let's cover how this stacks up against the Acebeam L19. And so, like I said, there are a lot of great tactical flashlights out there, a lot of great tactical flashlights that even first responders that I would recommend for. But I don't think that anything is quite as good and quite has all the features that you'd want, like the Brinyte PT16A, PT16, and the Acebeam L19. So that's why I'm throwing the Acebeam L19 in here as well. It's not that they're the only two flashlights out there that a first responder can use. It's just that I think that those two are in a league above the rest. I think that the Acebeam L19, like I said, is a great tactical flashlight, but that it's a little bit better for like enthusiasts. It's a little bit better for those who want a tactical flashlight that are deep into the flashlight hobby, whereas I think Brinyte is better specifically for first responders. So let me break this down a little bit. And consider that this is all my opinions. If you end up going and getting an Acebeam L19, all the more power to you. If you're a police officer, if you're a security guard, military, whatever, it's still going to do the job great. It's just that here's the reasons why I think the PT16A is a little bit better for a first responder. And so for one, on the PT16A and the PT16, we have a direct to turbo and a direct to strobe. Whereas on the L19, it's only direct to turbo, but having both of those options I think is a little bit better, because depending on what type of first responder you are and what kind of needs you may have, having a direct to strobe right off the tail switch here is pretty nice. Now, additionally, as we can see, we have gloss on the finish of this flashlight. The Acebeam L19 is matte. And so whereas I think that matte is a better looking flashlight, I think that matte is, better aesthetically, I think that the gloss holds up a little bit better as far as real use, and that you'll get just, I think that the gloss is what you're going to want when you're pulling this in and out of your duty belt every day over something that is a matte flashlight. Also on this PT16A, we have double the amount of lumens, double the amount of total output out of this flashlight that you get out of an Acebeam L19. Now, with that said, you're going to get more throw out of the Acebeam L19. But as you saw outside, this thing still throws so far. Any real world situation, this already throws further than just about anything you're ever going to need it for. So I would rather have the double output, me personally. Also with the L19, it's only going to come with a finger ring like this one right here, whereas with the PT16A, we get that finger ring, or we get this one as well. So it's like you can choose whichever you'd prefer to have, this ring or this ring. I think that the head size on the PT16A and the PT16 is almost perfect. Like, it's big enough where you can get just a wonderful beam profile and a lot of throw out of this, especially that deep reflector. Like, it does great with having this head size. But if you go any bigger, I think that it starts getting a little bit inconvenient. But if you go smaller, you're not going to get as good of output. So I think that this has the perfect head size, whereas the L19 has a larger head on it, and I just don't think fits on a duty belt quite as well. The last reason I think that this is a little bit better for law enforcement and first responders is because this does come with the glass breakers on the PT16A, whereas on the L19, it's just going to have a standard bezel similar to the original PT16. If you do decide to put on this finger ring here, it does fit into the holster that it comes with. So they put a little bit of groove down there, as you can see, to allow that ring to stick out, so you can still easily get this on your belt with that ring. No issue at all. Just because this is my favorite tactical flashlight on the market doesn't mean that there isn't anything that needs improved, because there is. There's one thing I would still really like to see on this, and that is that this still has an auto lockout for the side switch. So no matter what, even if it's on lockout, you'll always be able to access your turbo and strobe. That's not an issue. So you're covered there. But as far as your standard use when you're putting this in low or medium, going through normal use situations, it goes into auto lockout, so you have to click it a few times to turn off the lockout and use the flashlight. So I would really prefer if it was a manual lockout on the side switch, so that I could determine if I want to put in a lockout or not. I'd rather that not be decided for me. As far as price, we are looking at the exact same price as the Acebeam L19 at $119. However, consider that you can usually find sales on this. If you check Amazon, they do run coupons here and there. I think that I purchased it with a 16% off coupon, something like that, somewhere around there. So in conclusion, if you're a first responder, if you're military, law enforcement, security guard, correction officer, anything of the sort, or if you just like tactical flashlights, Brinyte may not have the biggest brand yet, but I can tell you that I've worked with a lot of tactical flashlights so far. I kind of know my way around them a bit, and this is my absolute favorite. It's my go-to. I highly, highly recommend this light if you're going to get yourself a good tactical flashlight with a buck driver. I would love for you guys to leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if there's any flashlights that you want to see me review. I'd love to review those for you. And if there's anything you want me to compare one flashlight against another, I would love to be able to provide you guys with the content you'd like to see. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking. And if you would consider subscribing, that would help my channel a lot. Thanks so much and have a great week.